shonga chuji anji podrana tuksen sanji kanji kowonyet razama shurga muzuma stunza ba sawe lama namla showade kirba sanji chuwa shikdanye nyamba druba shomla tanda sanjine manene dambe chanso loto jamso shabla sorade Lame jasme jansu toje tang shirga guru pema shomla ji shendri jingwe gelwe nyuku ye tanda drupa tanchina drupara ho nanjin lame grambe koje la pasame jaro shidru lazo ho rale jana nepara tujo tuyo yirmi jiwara shinji lo. Everybody give rise to bodhicitta, to benefit countless suffering sentient beings, that all beings may have happiness and all the causes of happiness, that they may be free from suffering and all the causes of suffering, that they may never be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering, that they may forever dwell in the great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. To sacred Bodhisattva, the precious and excellent mind, where it is not, may it arise. Where it is, may it never decline, consistently growing, rising higher and higher. Carry on these most special teachings of Tokme Zangpo, the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva. And most people, the way they're living life today, their major concerns is whether they are working, their income, their relationships, maybe that they've got a car, home, these type of thoughts, mostly worldly concerns, what we call worldly concerns, but that we have these practices of the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva. We see that we can think differently, we can approach life differently. We don't have to change our lifestyle, but what we can change is our attitude towards life. So look at the great people of the past. Look at their aspirations because of their aspirations to benefit others. Today, people still pay homage to them. People still have respect for them. People like Buddha, like Jesus Christ. Look, even today, those names that we know are current. Gandhi, Mother Teresa, even Nelson Mandela. And why? Because their aspirations to benefit others were really great. So we all have this Buddha nature, and in the Buddha nature we have perfect compassion, we have perfect wisdom, the unity of the two. What we can do is we can once again return to this true nature of ours, this Buddha nature of ours. So maybe I'll call it true nature of mind, or the Rigpa. And it's important that in our life we do the best that we can. Whatever we do doesn't really matter if it's big in the eyes of others. It doesn't matter what others think of it. What's important is that what you yourself are able to achieve within yourself. It might not be big, we'll say great, according to others, but for yourself it may itself be really great. Sometimes for things that we do, we might think are easy, but for other people they might be very difficult. It might be a great barrier or a great hurdle for them to overcome. And likewise for ourselves. So hopefully we can live our life meaningfully. We have a precious human life, and hopefully we can really live it beneficially, benefiting others. So the way we think when we start to practice is different to that of non-practitioners. We are adding in this new software, the software or different way of thinking, just like we may have a different system into our computer. And if we were a non-practitioner and somebody hurt us, or did something, took something of ours, stole something, did something that we didn't like, we might want to enact revenge. We might want them to be punished, to maybe go to jail, or somehow that they suffer some kind of loss. So now that we're practitioners, we start to know the truth of cause and effect. we know that this has happened not because of the other people. It's because of ourselves. We ourselves have created these causes, and now this result has come about. And we also know that we don't necessarily want people to suffer anymore just because we've suffered. We don't want them to pay a price. We just hope that they can change, that they can transform. We don't necessarily say, okay, we have to accept what this person has done, but we don't harbor these anger, this hatred, this dislike, or this wish for revenge. So we've been controlled by emotions. Through practice, we start to see, oh wow, really my life has been controlled by many of these arising thoughts, by these emotions. And we see that most of the suffering we experience is as a result of these negative emotions. We often think that, or before we thought that the greatest cause of our unhappiness is others. Then we start to see, well, others may hurt us for 10 or 20 minutes, but then afterwards they leave, or they shout at us. And then our mind, our emotions start. And they don't. The person's gone after 20 minutes, but our mind plays this situation out again and again and again, much longer than 20 minutes, maybe half an hour, maybe for a day, maybe for a week or a month, maybe even longer, maybe years. Some people don't forget emotions for their whole life. So we see how these emotions hurt us again and again. But then through practice, we start to see, oh, but we don't have to invest in these emotions so much anymore. We can transform them. We can let them go very much quicker through awareness, through meditation, through the realizations of these teachings and understanding of these teachings. So we start to see, oh, we don't have to be controlled by the emotions. So then when we start to see that other people are hurting us or making us unhappy or saying things that we dislike or doing things that make us unhappy, we start to realize, oh, they've just, they get caught up in their emotions again. You can say, like we say in English, is that they've lost their mind, or they're lost in thought, they're lost in their emotions. So they're no longer in control. They're caught up in these emotions. And we know this because it's happened to us all. Even now it might still happen to us, but maybe not as quickly and as not to such a great extent. So then we stop being angry or so angry with people. Instead, being angry for them, they become the objects of our love and kindness instead of the objects of our anger. So we look at it, we see, controlled by the emotions, like a drunk. Somebody's had a lot of alcohol or maybe taken drugs. They lose control a little bit. They're not completely themselves. So this is the same when these emotions take over. And we look, they use the example of the Tibetan stick. And if somebody hits you with a stick, it might be really painful. It might be a little bit angry or upset. So who hurt us? It was the stick. But who gets angry with a stick? Who wants to go and beat the stick? Take it out on the stick. We don't. Why? Because, well, who's in control? The stick didn't do this by itself. It was the person. The person was in control of the stick. So maybe we would be angry with the person who is in control of the stick. But then if we think a little bit further, we think, well, who was in control? Was it the person's body or the person's mind? And then we start to see, well, actually, it was the person's mind. So now, what are we going to do? We're going to be angry with the person's mind? And then, if we think of it even just a little bit more, we think, well, who was in control? Was it the mind or the emotions? Then we start to see, well, actually it was this person's emotions that were in control. So now we know, well, actually the enemy is the emotions. So the person is still fine. The person is still a good person. They still have Buddha nature. However, they have been caught up in these emotions that they haven't been able to control. So this doesn't mean that we have to accept what everybody does to us, as we said earlier. We can still say to people, I don't respect or I don't accept this kind of behavior, but we don't harbor that anger, that dislike, those negative emotions. And also, we can forgive them much easier, just as like we forgive others, just like we wish others to forgive us. Otherwise, somebody hurts us, does things to us. As we said, we hope that they go to jail. If they stole something, we hope that they repay, that they go to jail, that they're punished, that they everything of theirs is stolen as well, or they suffer some kind of loss. Thoughts like these might go through our minds. But is all of this going to make us happier? People get vengeful. Maybe people leave them in a relationship, hurt people. People go to court. They want justice. There's a lot of time spent in court. It's a lot of energy. It's not pleasant. Eventually, a lot of people just grateful that this whole episode is over. They don't have to go to court anymore. And when the person is maybe sentenced, maybe not, how much resentment do you still hold? Or even if there are, does it really make you feel so much better? Does it make you feel happier? And for how long? Is it worth all that effort? So rather, start developing a positive state of mind, a mind of loving kindness and compassion towards others. All of this happiness really comes from within. We look at what people invest their time in for happiness, often physically as well. They look after their body. Magazines about how to look after your body, how to make your body beautiful, to make it look strong or really attractive. And but how many people look at how important our mind is, the state of our mind is for our happiness? Once we've had enough to eat, once we're warm, once we've slept, as long as we don't have other pains like maybe a headache, we don't think about our body anymore. The rest, most of the time, everything's happening in our head, in our mind. So we see how important this is for our, that the state of our mind is most important. And there were, I think after the Second World War, they did a survey. There were people that had been disfigured or they had suffered some kind of harm during the war, and they allowed them to have, or they helped them to have plastic surgery. And after the plastic surgery, although their appearance was changed, they weren't happier. So they also sort of came to this conclusion that really happiness more is coming from within. We look to this material world, we say, well, we might go on holiday, have the best place in the world, good people around us, good food, all of these things, good music. But if we're unhappy in our mind, we're unhappy. But you can be in some little place where there's really no music, maybe just one or two little slices of bread or a chapati to eat, and you can be happy. So through these practices, we can slowly, gradually change our life, change our inner self, the way we think, our patterns of thinking. Let go of all of these unhappinesses, all of these negative emotions. But it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. But after a while you start to think, wow, I'm really different. The way I look at things is different. The way I approach life is different. And people. And you can laugh at yourself and think, oh, I used to get so caught up in all of those emotions and all of those thoughts. So these great masters, they really, really think very differently to the way we think. Their approach, their attitude. There's a story of a teacher that was during the Cultural Revolution in China. And he was jailed. And when he was there, he used the opportunity as his practice. When he left, he prostrated to the jailers. They came to him and said, you can go now. And he said, do I really have to go? And they said, yes, you have to really go. Crazy guy asking if we have to go. And he prostrated to them. And they said, well, afterwards people said, what was the hardest thing for you while you were in jail? And I think he was in jail for maybe 20 years. Saying that, I think of Nelson Mandela. How long was he in jail for? 27 years. And when he left, he was full of anger, and then he thought to himself, I think it's one of his quotes, he said, if I don't let go of this anger, then although I may have left the jail, I'll still be a prisoner to these negative emotions of mine. When they said to this great Rinpoche, and they said, what was the hardest thing? And he said, the hardest thing was that I was scared I would lose my loving kindness and compassion for my jailers. So you see how he transformed it all into practice. They don't have these material concerns. They're not worried about fame and reputation and how much wealth they've got. They've seen everything as an illusion. They've seen the illusory nature of everything, the dreamlike nature of everything. They're free of these sufferings of samsara, of these negative emotions. It's like Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava, said, it's just like the lotus, the famous lotus, the lotus born. And the lotus rises out of the mud, but is not stained, isn't affected by the mud. So, he's in samsara, but he's not affected by samsara. He appears in samsara. Just like Jesus said as well, I'm not of this world, but I'm in this world. So, you see, the way they are is so different. Us, most people, what would happen when they were in jail? They might be resentful, think, poor me, how did I deserve this? What did I do to deserve this? This world is so unfair. And these people hurting me. Wait until I leave here. When I get the chance to leave, I'll remember this, I'll remember that. If I see them in the street again. How many people might think like that? So it's important that we review. Look at these emotions. For instance, anger. Think of cause and effect. Why should we be angry? What is the benefit of getting angry? Where exactly is this anger? What's going to happen if I'm angry? It's going to hurt me. It's going to hurt others. And why do we get angry? Is it often because people really hurt us? Or is it often because people hurt an idea of us? Maybe they even want to be kind. But we're angry, we're unhappy. Stop interfering. Stop telling me what to do. Or we feel embarrassed. Somebody hurts our pride. They say something we don't want to hear. We get angry. Pride is interesting. Been sitting with people and they're very worried about their age. They don't want people to know their age. Some people in a group of people might ask them, aren't you so-and-so such an age? And they get very upset. No, I'm much younger than this. Funny difference in cultures. Some places they ask because it's to show respect. And in other cultures, they feel embarrassed about their age. So there's many different reasons that people get angry. And for many times, often, those reasons are really quite silly. But these thoughts arise. They arise again and again, or these emotions arise again and again and again, and we buy into them. The more we practice, the more we see we don't have to accept these emotions, these thoughts. We don't have to dive into them. We don't have to invest in them. We don't have to follow them. Otherwise they come up and we run after them. Running here, running there, following our habits. Go and have a cup of coffee, so we go and have a cup of coffee. This person has said this or that to make me happy, so we go. And we get unhappy with them. We say things. So, through meditation, we can just watch those thoughts. Like a river. The river, if you stand outside the river, you can watch it go past. Doesn't matter what waters are happening. Flood waters, low waters. fast waters, clear, muddy waters. You can watch it coming past. The same with emotions, these thoughts. With our awareness, we can observe the thought arising and going, arising and going. We don't have to jump into the thought. But if we jump into the river, then the river washes us away. It might wash us away for a long time. And the problem is actually that many people don't even realize that they've fallen into the river. So the same as those thoughts. If we jump into those thoughts, those emotions, they wash us away, they take us away. Sometimes we don't even realize it. So then we have to find out how to get out of this river. In the beginning, maybe it's more difficult to get out the river. How do we get out? Where's the best place to get out? Sometimes, as I said, we don't even realize we're in the river. But slowly we get better. We get more used to, oh, I'm in the river again. How did I get here? Oh, well, let me try my best to get out of this river. And then slowly we can get out, and we can get out quicker and quicker. And then eventually we can start thinking, oh, why are we even trying to get into the river? Let's just watch it go by. Same with these emotions. Why am I in this emotion again? We jump into this emotion, we jump into this negative emotion, we jump into that thought, and it carries us away again. Often we don't even realize it. We haven't even seen it coming. And off we go. Doing this, saying that, dwelling on this, lost in our dreamland, lost in our thoughts of unhappiness. Slowly we get better and better at realizing, I've just jumped into the river again. It's difficult to get out, but eventually we get out. Then we get out quicker and quicker. So we can let go. We don't have to invest in all of these emotions, all of these thoughts. Otherwise, if we don't, what happens is we think that they're real. We get involved in them, we invest in them quicker and quicker. And then they become our actions. We start to believe these thoughts. Start to think, I am a this, I am a that. I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm a teacher. I'm a student. I'm a laborer. I'm a leader. I'm not a caretaker. I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Start to believe these things. They become more and more solid. And we start to define ourselves according to these things. And then, because we define ourselves like this, or we define what is happiness and what isn't happiness, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, we create these invisible boxes, these structures of ideas that we accept and we don't accept. And we judge the world accordingly. We judge people accordingly. And then we find our safety in those boxes. And then we reinforce those boxes. These boxes are just habits and ideas. We can't see them. If you look for them, can you find them? But we live our life according to them. Sometimes we make this box stronger and stronger, more and more resistant, not letting people in, restricting ourselves, limiting ourselves, not letting ourselves out, not to see different points of view, or getting upset and angry if anybody touches your box, touches your points of view, your ways of thinking. And then somebody comes like Rinpoche, they hold your hand, they slowly start helping you pull yourself out of your box, out of your habits. These habits are just habits. They don't have any substantial existence, just that we invest in them, we believe in them. And so we start to see, we can see things differently. But we're so used to our habits that we quickly run back to our box of habits and ideas and thoughts, feel safe, and then we look out again. We slowly let go of, let down these habits, this box, become more and more open, more and more relaxed. Have a much vaster, more broad view of life and the world. We have new ways of thinking. It's important that we change, transform our negative emotions. Let them become less and less, that we invest more in positive, doing positive things. And then our short-term happiness increases. And also our long-term happiness increases. And it's not only an investment for this life, it's an investment for future lives. We can continuously do this. Life gets better and better, happier and happier. Or less and less suffering. And eventually we can do this. We can follow the Dharma towards attaining enlightenment. We no longer follow these knee-jerk reactions of ours. Somebody says this, and quickly we're into that reaction, especially those closest to us. We become more free, more natural, more relaxed. But it takes time. It really takes time. It's free. This is the great thing. It is really free. But it takes time. It takes time. It takes investment in changing, in transforming. So let's start with the opening verse. And it starts, Namo Lokeśvaraye. You see that all things are beyond continuing and going. Yet still you strive solely for the sake of living beings. To you, my precious Guru, inseparable from Lord Avalokita, I offer perpetual homage, respectfully with body, speech and mind. The perfect Buddhas, who are the source of all benefit and joy, come into being through accomplishing the sacred Dharma. And since this in turn depends on knowing how to practice, I shall now describe the practices of all the Buddha's heirs. He pays a homage to his teacher, to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and that is Avalokitesvara, the embodiment of loving kindness and compassion, the Bodhisattva of loving kindness and compassion. Many teachers are the embodiment or the reincarnation of Avalokitesvara also, or other known as Chenrezig Guanyin. Rinpoches, Gyalse Nyugu Rinpoche, other teachers we know as well. And the teacher is so important. If you're practicing Tibetan Buddhism, most important to just think about your teacher for a moment is of incredible merit, greater than any other practices. And your teacher as well is the representation or the embodiment of the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha, the three jewels. The teacher is here, has the realization of Buddha. Now these are enlightened teachers, of course, like Gyalse Nyugu Rinpoche, like His Holiness Lama Achuk Rinpoche. And so we didn't attain enlightenment when Buddha was around. We didn't have the right arising causes, the opportunity. Or if we did, we didn't practice it. But our teacher, we can speak to our teacher. We get these teachings from our teacher. Our teachers of great love and kindness and compassion. Through our teachers we learn. We learn about the importance of love and kindness and compassion, about cause and effect, impermanence, that our life is precious and to use it properly. Know about suffering and about enlightenment, about attaining enlightenment, wisdom, emptiness, to get to know our true nature of mind, this Buddha nature that every one of us has. So they make offerings. And I used to start also, before when I first started, I think, why always in all of these texts do we make offerings to the teachers? Why don't we just get on with the teachings? Now I start to realize the importance of the teacher. If you look at some of the great teachings, like the 3 words that strike the vital point, the beginning of the teaching is the 3 teachers' names, and this could be the whole teaching. If you really understand it, if you had the capacity and the wisdom to understand the teaching. Always you see homage to the great teachers. So it's very important to pay homage. So really homage to Tokme Zangpo. And for all the teachers that have taught his teachings. And we think of the Guru Yoga of Lama Achuk Rinpoche, and he wrote also, in his Guru Yoga, he really writes very special teachings, so special. And he says, ah. So first, what is he saying? Ah, they start with ah. Is it just recite ah? What he's really saying is, remember to abide in your true nature of mind, to abide in Rigpa. So every time you hear ah, it's not the conceptual ah, or the sound ah, he's reminding you, abide in this nature, this true nature of ours. And also, who is Lama Achuk Rinpoche? Who is Gyalse Nyugu Rinpoche? They are external teachers, but they're also, in a deeper sense, they are reminding us, they are our true nature of mind, reminding us again to abide in our true nature of mind. They're a representation of our true nature of mind. So, whenever you hear ah, remember, abide in your true nature of mind. Lama Achuk Rinpoche's Guru Yoga, he has four heart disciples, and in every one of their Guru Yoga as well, he writes ah, remember your true nature of mind. As best as you can, abide in your true nature of mind. Maybe now you can't do this, but do your best to at least abide in whatever the best state of meditation that you can. And with body, speech and mind, this is how we embrace this world, how we live in this world, we experience the world. We experience it through our body, speech and mind. Most important is the mind. The body, the speech follows what the mind does. It becomes action from our thoughts, from what's going on in our mind. And if we can offer this, we pay homage to our teacher, but even offer our body, speech and mind to our teacher, then if we really do this, then we would act only in the way of the teacher. Our body, speech and mind would be that of the teacher. Remember in the teaching of Rinpoche, he says he's very happy. When he teaches, he says it's maybe my body, but it's really the voice of great Lama Achuk Rinpoche, His Holiness. It's the teachings of His Holiness, Lama Achuk Rinpoche, that is just coming out to everybody through my body and my voice. So it's important that we observe our mind, these thoughts of ours, and observe them with really great awareness. It says over here, without coming and going. So we might think, but what do you mean without coming and going? I've just come from the shops. I bought something so that I could, and I've just come back in to come to the teachings. So you could say there's coming and going. But if we watch these thoughts with awareness, we start to look, we observe, where did these thoughts come from? Where are they abiding? Where do they go to? What color have they got? What shape have they got? And we start to see, they're just like the clouds. They appear in the sky, and they disappear back into the sky. Where did they come? Where did they go? What trace did they leave? A rainbow as well. What trace does a rainbow leave? We're all searching for that pot of gold. Where did the rainbow come from? It just appears in the sky. Where did it disappear to? Leaves without a trace. All of our troubles, all of our worries, we think they're never ending. They're so real. But the problems, the worries we had 1 month ago, or 1 year ago, or 5 years ago, where are they now? What has happened to them? All of these things going on in our mind, we feel that they're so real. They affect us so much. But if we really observe, we start to see that maybe they're empty. They're like the rainbow that appears and disappears. But this doesn't mean empty, doesn't mean void. In emptiness is that it appears, but its nature is empty. And everything is interdependent. We're not independent to ourselves. What is empty is that everything, it appears, but it isn't. Its true nature is maybe empty. It's made up of smaller parts. So we look at a car. We see a solid, there's a car, but the car is made up of parts. It's made up of steering wheel, the wheels, the engine, the body, and those can be broken up. The body can be broken up into the doors, the seats, the bonnet, the boot, the trunk, the engine as well. And then those parts can be broken up smaller and smaller into atoms. And then the atoms now can be broken up into quarks. And then if we have machinery, maybe we find it can be broken up even further. Maybe it just becomes like energy, becomes empty. So, although it appears as this one part, one whole, it's made up of very many different parts. So, often things aren't exactly how they appear. We believe so much in things, and then we find out maybe they're a little bit different. People before, they believed the earth was round, was flat, now it's round. There's been many beliefs that have changed over the times. Before, in South Africa, people run the Comrades Marathon. It's been there maybe for nearly 100 years. When it started, people used to run, and halfway through they used to stop and have a big lunch. Meat and potatoes and vegetables, and maybe even have a beer. That would have then the energy to carry on and run a good race. But now today, who does that? The runners don't. They have these very special energy drinks, energy food. They treat it, they approach it very, very differently. So we see things change. What we believe today is not necessarily what's going to be true tomorrow. So it's very important that we investigate these teachings, that we check for ourselves. What is the truth? And then once we say, okay, yes, I really accept this, I really believe in this, then really practice. Don't just doubt just because of what other people say. Really go and investigate for yourself. And when you have, then make your decision and decide what you want to do, what you want to practice. On this note then, let practice these most incredible practices. It's very important to look after our mind. Our mind has great energy, great ability, it has great power. And it's very important that we use it well, and that we use it as best as can to practice bodhicitta, to transform our way of thinking, to transform ourselves, to become more positive, do less negative, and to benefit others as best as we can. Let's dedicate these merits. Sonam de tamcha tsabanye, tobnye nyepe tranam kajeja, geka nache balam trupai, zipi tsoli droa sho.